So, on Game Pass, people are pretty much trained to be like, okay, here's this big game coming out from, Microsoft Studios or what, essentially.
Which is a lot of games now.
A lot of games.
With all their acquisitions. Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be there for you day one, but PlayStation, it's not.
Yeah, just in case. If something
get heated up on something, yeah.
Yeah. No worries there. Hey guys, welcome to Streamforge episode 12. We're here with PeteDorr today, and as always, Meredith. My name is Xavier Constantine, and I'm your co-host and co-founder at Streamforge. I'm super happy to be here today, guys, and talking about, unfortunately, a bit of console war today. But the console war, Game Pass versus PlayStation Plus edition. Guys, welcome to this episode.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I can't wait to talk about. Man, it just makes me feel like a kid again talking about console wars. Growing up with the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. So hey, we all pick our sides, but I tend to believe I'm pretty neutral on most things. So hopefully it'll be a good discussion.
Yeah, good.
Cool.
Meredith, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying this amazing spring weather, so I can't complain. How are you?
Yeah, doing good too. I mean, this is an episode as well that I was really looking forward to. And so it gets me really excited. Also, we're recording a bit later than typical today, which is like new to me. Typically, we're record mid-afternoon or something. So now it's 8 p.m. and
I know it's kind of spicy. I'm
yeah, I feel like I should be drinking a beer or something, but I'm not. I'm drinking kombucha. I'm really just we're super healthy here.
Hey, I got my bottle of water, so
there you go. Just hydrating. That's good. There we go. Don't forget, guys at home, hydrate. So Pete, for people that don't know who you are, do you mind telling them a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I actually got into the content creation side of things back in 2008 on YouTube. I was one of the earliest people to help pioneer the sort of retro game collecting scene. So you know how you go on YouTube these days and everybody's like, check out my game room, check out my collection of Xbox games. I was actually one of the first people to do that on YouTube. And it kind of snowballed from there. And because I was one of the first people to introduce that kind of content, it really took off. People had never seen this kind of stuff really on YouTube before, and I did that for a very long time, and then I got into the streaming side of things, actually back on Justin TV. Mm-hmm. One of the earlier people on there to stream games as well, and eventually I was kind of doing both at the same time, and then eventually I just decided to go full-time on Twitch about 6 years ago, and kind of carried that collector mentality with me in terms of the content that I put out. For example, on Saturdays I pretty much just stream myself shopping on eBay. All night, and my viewers come out. It's a very chill atmosphere. People pretty much look forward to this to help end their week, and we just sit there and we listen to some chill gaming music and shop on eBay. And if I find deals or cool things, I link them in chat for people. I don't take any of the deals for myself. I spread them out there for everybody. And I play all kinds of stuff, retro, modern. I tend to play all genres, platformers, RPGs being my favorites, and I also love terrible games. I love playing bad games, so yep. I have a reputation for kind of delving into terrible games and finding the good things in those games and kind of having fun with that. So that's the short end of my history of what I do online.
That's pretty cool. And I have to say the eBay shopping to me seems very appealing. I mean, if I was in there just telling you to buy the stupidest thing and just empty your wallet, but
no, it would be very. I make it a thing for sure. I don't really do the buying. It's because that would be that would get expensive.
Okay, so you're recommending stuff to your audience. That's pretty cool, man.
It's pretty different, yeah. So I just shop on eBay, and if I see something cool and I know it's a good deal, because I have a pretty good knowledge of game prices off the top of my head. And if I see something, I'm like, hey guys, this PlayStation 1 game is normally $30, but here's a buy it now price for $20. I post it in chat, and people usually.
And you probably have it out anyways in your collection, right?
Typically,
in this case, let's say, right?
Yeah, typically, usually. Well, even if I didn't, it would just be really bad for me to be buying games every week on eBay. So I usually share it with other people.
Yeah,
anyway.
No, I feel you.
That's awesome.
Trust me, I got all this stuff in the back here. Also, you guys can't see it if you're listening, but all my games on the shelves back there, and to me, it's like it's really fun to share. I think knowledge about game collecting, because coming in this hobby, I'll call it that, right? Can be very daunting to like know the price. Of course, you can use like price charting and whatnot, but like I think that finding like, I'll use a very retro collecting term, like hidden gems on eBay can be really, really fun actually. Also very hard, because you can have really bad experiences, and as well, because like, to me at least, like eBay is not, more so today I would say, but like back in the days I feel like I was more like Nintendo age. I've bought like a lot of games there. Just go like one-on-one, like kind of like doing a deal with another collector that just needs to like empty some shelves, right?
Yeah, I used to do the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, so like it's on eBay. It's interesting. I still find deals, or found deals in the past couple of years. I do buy less, but like, how do you find like this whole like industry, like the retro video game collecting industry? Like, why do you go to eBay, or would you recommend people still go to eBay or go somewhere else for finding games?
It's getting a lot harder to find good deals on eBay, because it's gotten to the point now where there are people that will sit there all day, essentially filtering it so that it will show the newest listed items, and they'll sit there with an auto refresher every 5 seconds, and if something pops up, it will sell within 10 seconds if it's a really good deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Like people have gotten pretty good at rigging it now, I feel like.
There's a lot of sort of like underlying programs that can help them. I mean, you go to price charting now and you can just like input a listing and it'll tell you what the total value is worth. But I will say you can't rely on price charting entirely. That it's good to know like market changes and because they lag behind a little bit. But I would say eBay is still the best place to go to globally, because everybody can pretty much access it. Certain countries don't have access to things like Mercari yet. But eBay is just like a general good place to go. If you need a game, it's probably going to be there. The question is, how much is it going to cost? And it's, in some cases, going to be a little too expensive these days.
Well, you have to pay that 10% fee anyways on top of it, and plus potentially PayPal, whatever. But to me, it's like, it's good to also compare prices, in a sense that it might be a little bit more expensive than if you buy it directly from someone like on Reddit or in a forum or whatever. But at least you can, if the version of the game you're looking at is cheaper than the rest of the listings on eBay at the very least. So it's easy to compare. If you go to, it's a place you can even go to, like, if someone's trying to sell you something, you can go there and figure out the prices, right? So it's a good tool to have as a retro game collector, I would say. That's cool. That's really fun, man. I'll be there next Saturday for sure.
Sounds good. Yeah, we
We'll
have a
be
good
buying
time.
all the stuff.
It sounds like a weird
Absolutely.
concept. Like, why would you want to watch this guy
Why?
shopping on eBay? But
Oh my god,
people enjoy
No,
it. So
It's like some weird like ASMR, I feel like. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm into it.
honestly, I put a lot of my audience to sleep. Apparently, like they use it as a sleeping tool. So
I feel like that's
there's
like
that as
a
well.
compliment, though.
No,
to be
I love
honest,
that,
right?
honestly.
Yeah.
That's why I try not to raise my voice, because I'm aware of the sleeping lurkers. You can't wake them up.
yeah. Now I regret saying I'm going to be there Saturday. Like, I really want to, but I also like to keep my savings, in a separate account, not to pay off my credit card.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll think about it now. For
There
sure. I'll
are
be there.
some people that I make them spend a little bit more than they should.
Yeah. No, I
Sure,
can
yeah.
see this. But I'm for real. I'll be there. I'm really excited about this. This is a really, really fun idea. It's very niche, I have to say, right?
Well, that's what
But-
people always say about Twitch. When you're up and coming, they're always like, you got to find your niche. What can you do to stand out? And this is sort
Absolutely.
of my thing. So I got to focus on my strengths. So
Did you see it like a positive impact of, let's talk about this eBay shopping idea, like Saturday nights? Did you see an increase in viewership during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was definitely like my highest view counts, like historically up until then. I couldn't tell you like exact numbers, but it was. I mean, there were some nights where it was like nearly like probably 75% viewer increase. It was big because everybody was just at home. They had probably a lot of people had excess money sitting around from stimulus checks and whatnot, and they were ready to just
Not
hang
going
out.
out.
Not
anymore.
going out, spend money, whatever they wanted to do. And I guess just also looking to take their mind off of things. It was sort of like a nice way for everybody to kind of come together and collectively share, their passion for gaming, because I have a very strict like we only talk about kind of games and
Mhm.
whatnot in my chat, so it's kind of a nice way for people to take their mind off of things.
Yeah, because I mean the market blew up during the pandemic. It's crazy.
It
man.
went insane, and the prices are coming back down.
A
But
bit,
some consoles have not recovered. Certain Nintendo consoles are just ridiculous right now
yeah.
for the games.
No, I mean for sure it's crazy. I mean for older collectors like ours, like us, it's it's like, I mean I think I feel two ways. I feel like my collection is gaining value. That's great, but I'm also like, it sucks because it makes it so much harder for people to get into this hobby, and then that might be detrimental in the future as well. Like if I'm going back to my point one, then like point two, like period, that's a fact. I think it sucks because like it's makes it more difficult. And point two might affect point one in the future because it might be less people that care about this hobby in the future because it was too hard to get into it in the first place.
It's getting absolutely ridiculous right now, and that's a good point that I hadn't really thought about recently. And I did most of my collecting way back in the day when nobody really cared about some of these consoles and got things very cheap. But man, if you wanted to get into something like Sega Saturn right now, you're looking at most games are at least $100 each.
Oh yeah.
It's
Wow,
ridiculous.
that's
N64,
insane.
Nintendo 64 games, if you get it in the box with the manual, most of the good ones, and especially rare ones, are like $300, $400 right now,
Oof.
plus each. Yeah.
Yep.
Wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
Nah, it's a very expensive hobby to get into today, in today's time. Like it's crazy, but it's still fun. It's as fun as ever. I mean, it's still really, really fun. How do you feel about, like, we're gonna slowly move on to our next section, back to today's topic. I want to move into, before talking about Xbox, PlayStation, I want to talk about the Switch, because now we're just talked about retro. And yeah, the big two, like, consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, fighting over, like, who's going to have the best. I call it a video game monthly, no, hold on. Monthly subscription video game library access. How about that? I mean, is there a word for it, for what it is? Because it's not like a streaming service, because like it's not a Amazon Luna or Google Stadia. That's not it. You only download these games to your console and whatnot. But we'll find a name maybe before the end of this episode for what these are. But the Switch, Nintendo Switch, has a monthly/yearly subscription, which gives you access to games, but retro games, right? And now they have different tiers as well, different, if you want the N64 games and the Genesis games, you pay more. I mean, it's a bit messy if you ask me. I love it, but my question to you, Pete, is what impact do you think having access to all these retro games on the Nintendo Switch, for example, has on the retro video game collecting hobby as a whole?
So it might be surprising for some people where you would think like, oh, okay, all these expensive games that are now available much cheaper digitally would have an impact on prices for physical. And this is something that I've discussed a lot because people actually bring this up quite a bit in my streams. And over the years, as Nintendo has introduced games like Earthbound digitally in so many different, I mean, Earthbound's available digitally in so many different ways now from Nintendo over the years. And Earthbound is still, if you want that game in its original form, the cartridge is going to cost you couple $100. If you want it with everything else, it's still $1,000+. And that's just one example. And there's plenty more where Mario 64, you would think, boy, that game, I mean, that it's a pretty highly produced game. There's a lot of copies out there. It's available digitally through Nintendo. You would think that game would come down in price, but it's only going up. And I think it's because the collector mentality in people is still very much, they're very stubborn-headed in that we want our games on original hardware with original cartridges, because there sort of is this sort of prestige amongst collectors where, I hate to say it, but for some collectors it's like, how many games can you put on your shelf and show to other people? So there will always be that, but there's also, that's just not the only side to it. It's, for me, it's like I honestly have to just have the original box and the original cartridge and the original manual, because I just feel so strongly about playing original versions of games on original hardware. I have a pretty strong stance on that. And because there's so many of us like that, and so many people that want to get into this hobby and kind of fit in with others as well, it's kept prices really high, and it's the only time that I really ever see games have a decrease in price is when Nintendo releases something like, hey, oh, we got a new HD remaster coming out. Then maybe the older versions that are sort of obsoleted will come down in price, and that's really about it.
Probably temporarily as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It can depend. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel you. And being a CIB collector, as you know, I don't know if you call it that. I call it that.
No, I call it CIB. Yep.
Okay,
exactly.
there you go. So, you know, and so, I understand wanting to have the full package. That's what I typically search for, and that's what my collection is made of. 98% of it is CIB. That being said, I also have that. I'm also interested in having the original game as a memorabilia, if you will, like even if I haven't played the original, like back in the days, I might want to have play like Symphony of the Night, Castlevania. Love the game. I love Castlevania, but I didn't have a PlayStation 1 back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm playing the, I guess remastered whatever on PlayStation and whatnot, the Requiem version, for example, or I played it before on other platforms, PC, whatever, but now I want the original because I love the game, and to me it's like it's a piece of gaming history that's attached to something that I love, that I think is great. And so there's not a lot of, you know, items I can buy that screams like I love this game more than having the original, right? So to me there's this aspect as well. I don't know if it's something that you have like that, a reason why you buy some games as well.
I mean, there's a multitude of reasons that I would buy certain games, but no, I can totally connect with that and totally see it. Like there are times where I do just straight up buy. I'm going to tell you one of my weirdest ones right now that I'm on, and this is going to sound really weird, so be ready for this. So, my favorite game of all time is Eco.
Okay.
On the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. It's the first game in the Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian, in that sort of trilogy.
Some of us call it Ico, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
That pronunciation's fine, but ICO, Ico, it actually is Eco, in case. But believe me, I don't take any offense to it. Yeah, I've heard everything over the years.
The Japanese pronunciation is Eco, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that game means a lot to me because it was sort of like the start of like this renaissance of artsy-fartsy games, as I like to call them, like really sort of out there direction in games with just very artsy camera angles and storytelling. So that's my favorite game of all time. And lately I have been collecting rental versions of Eco. So I specifically look for copies that have like Blockbuster stickers with prices, previously rented from, and like the location where it comes from. Pretty much the grimier and the grungier that thing looks, with like stickers and writing and the history of where this game came from, I'm all over it. I've been really enjoying that, and it's sort of something where most people would look at a copy like that and be like, I don't want that. But I see a copy that's like from Hollywood Video with like a custom cover that they printed out with a blurb about the game on the back that they wrote. I'm like, oh, I have to have that. That's amazing. Yeah. So I kind of have, I'm never going to play all it. Why own multiple versions of this game? But it's just like this strong connection that I have to it. And that definitely extends into some of my other favorite games where I want the original versions. Even if I know I may not touch it, it just means so much to me that I kind of just need it in my collection because it just says something about me and my evolution of being a gamer and a collector, essentially. Yeah, it doesn't feel right not having it.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, like the physicality of games. Do you guys think that that's going to change as like generations move through, right? Like everyone's used to having everything online at the click of a button. Like I feel like, not to age you guys, but like, that will soon be like a relic of the past sort of thing of like, like look at grandpa's games, like how cool or whatever sort of thing, right? Like I just can't imagine.
Not to make you feel older, but look at grandpa's games.
but you know what I mean? Of like a 15-year-old kid doesn't have that same connection in a way. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's important that we're talking about this because it does tie into like the digital game services. Totally. Because
absolutely
we're already going down that path where, to me personally, I don't consider myself a collector of new games. Like I don't consider myself a Switch collector or a PS5 collector because there's just something about the way games are packaged now. Not all companies, like there are certain companies that try and make it feel like it used to feel when you used to get a physical game, but they'll put a manual in there and stuff. Now it's just like, it's literally just an empty piece of plastic with like the smallest little cart or just a disc, and it just doesn't feel the same. And
it lacks soul.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's like it's an empty shell. I feel you 100%. It's sad. I'm like, where's the manual, guys? Come on. I understand save the trees, but like, still, it just feels underwhelming. I totally get it.
Yeah, and then there's the companies out there. I'm not going to like specify any of them, but there are a lot of companies that do these limited printings, which I think is excellent for the preservation of these indie games that want their games physical, and that way, in case they're ever taken off of a digital storefront, they'll always be there available physically. But there's just also something at the same time where I'm like, I just don't like the idea of forced artificial rarity. It just doesn't feel the same as like, say, an older retro game where it's rare because it's rare, and that's how it kind of just came to be.
Right.
Whereas now it's like they release a game and it's like, oh, only 300 copies made, and good luck if you don't get one. It's like, man,
Limited Run changed that a few years back, or a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly.
They changed the system. Yeah.
So like you have like a month to like order it, and if you don't, like, then whatever, like if there's like 10,000 copies that was pre-ordered, like they print 10,000,
then it ends up on eBay for ×5 the price from all the scalpers.
I mean,
if you
that's
didn't get it,
maybe that you know what, maybe a good future episode talk about that. But like, because scalping is a big thing for these types of games. But I don't know, I prefer their format they've picked.
No, that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Not all companies, I don't think, follow that, but there's so many of them now. It's so hard to keep up with.
Well, it's because they're the most popular of the genre, so they can afford to do it. So. Anyways, that's for another episode, I think. but no, I feel you. I do collect like more recent. My watch is pinging. Let me just, guys, boom, done. But my what I'm saying is I do buy newer games, but I totally get it. Now, I also play Game Pass. I also have a PlayStation Plus subscription. How do you feel when you don't buy physical games? So do you like play mostly games on these platforms, like on these through these services?
So I still definitely buy physical games for all the current platforms, but I had to kind of put, because I used to be in a very strong mindset, say 6 or 7 years ago, essentially before Game Pass was really becoming prominent. I wanted everything physical. I didn't really like buying digital unless that game was strictly 100% only available as a digital version. But then I started realizing the value of these like subscription services, and I had to put myself in this mindset where I'm like, look, you can't, if there's a game available for free on Game Pass day one when it comes out, I cannot buy the physical version of this. It just doesn't make sense. Right. And there are some people in my community that still are so fixated on owning the physical copies, and I don't fault them for it, but they have Game Pass. The game is sitting there for free to play right now, and they still will spend $60-$70 just to have it physical. So I dip my toes into, well, not dip, I dive pretty deep into digital games, and I pretty much do a mix. If it's not on Game Pass, if it's not on PlayStation Plus, whatever the heck service I'm using, I'll buy it physical. But I have to get myself prepared for the future where we're inevitably moving towards digital only, and I think these services are the best way for me to kind of prepare myself for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting what you said, though. You said if a game is available for free on Game Pass, and to me, that's the best thing that anyone can say about Game Pass. Games being available for free, not for $15.99 or $16. I'm not sure, depending on where you live. Whatever, it's around $15 to $20. It's not free. You pay for it, right? You pay for the service, but it feels free.
It feels
because free. And that's the beauty of this service. How brilliant it is, and not only it feels free, it's like you're overwhelmed literally by the amount of games you have access to. Not only that, the quality of games you get access to, it's just overwhelming. It's insane. Like, you get in there, I don't know what to play, and I shut my console off, and I'm just like, no, but seriously, like, there's so many games to play.
it can be overwhelming to the point where you'll kind of like play a game for an hour or two and maybe just move on to something else. Whereas if you had bought that game, maybe you would give it more of a chance because you're like invested in the price that you paid for it, which I guess these streaming services have their ups and downs, because it's like sometimes like you said, it's overwhelming. And I did that when I first got Game Pass. I was looking through it and I'm like, oh, let me try this game. I tried it for 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Maybe I'll come back to it. And then I never come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I bought that game for like $10, oh yeah, I would have sat there and played it from start to finish. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
No, I like that perspective. Like, and it's very true. It's also very true that it helps you discover new games, because game discovery, we work with a lot of game publishers, developers. Like, we know how hard it is, say, for an indie publisher to get discovered, and Game Pass allows or helps with that discovery for sure. Like, influencer marketing does it, like it does a really good job at it, but being on Game Pass does two things for game publishers and developers. Like, it helps discovery and it helps financing it. Not gonna go into the nitty gritty of how it works, but let me just say, like, some games, like, if they didn't have Game Pass, they would have released way before, and probably not to the same quality of what they ended up being, so like it's really, I think it's really healthy for the video game industry as a whole, but like more specifically for indie developers and publishers. Like, yeah,
I don't know if you saw the statistic, but I forget where I saw it, but I think I read something like if a game ends up on Game Pass, it makes like, just like exuberant amounts of money compared to indie games that don't. I don't remember what the statistics were, but yeah, I know what you're saying. It's just like, it's a dream essentially to have your indie game end up on Game Pass.
Yeah, well, the numbers I've heard, I mean, obviously it's relative, but they were not exorbitant by any means. Like,
it might depend on the game, I guess. Yeah.
Right, and it's relative to like how much you expect to make. If you release your game, if you're a really small indie developer, self-publishing, and if you have like 10,000 downloads, you're like, it's like huge for you. Would you end up like, so like it's relative, but it's helpful for sure. And obviously every developer gets a different
Yeah.
Obviously it's not like here's one, like we have one price and you take it or leave it, whatnot. It's obviously a case by case, but it's just tremendous the opportunity, financial and in terms of like development that it allows, and with discovery, it's great. Like, but I feel you, man. It's like but I think we're like in this industry where it's like you play a game, and at least I'll talk for myself. If it doesn't grab my attention, or at least again, if it doesn't keep my attention, there's just so many other games. And as a video game collector as well, I got a bunch of games on my shelves I haven't played yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you better grab or keep my attention. And that's the biggest challenge in today's time for a game developer. But again, going off rails here a bit. Back to so Game Pass, we love it. I think we see the value. Don't want to put words in your mouth, Pete, but what do you think about what PlayStation did recently, announcing their new 3-tier PlayStation Plus Essential? Oh, I got the list here. Meredith was
remembering
was nice
the names
enough
is not easy.
Send me the list.
It's
super complicated, dude. It's like,
I got
that's also what I love. And I want to be specific. Like you mentioned it earlier, I am in no way, shape, or form a fanboy of anything. I love PlayStation. Trust me, I love PlayStation. I love Xbox. I love Nintendo. I love Genesis, like Sega, my Sega Genesis. I love it. Like, I love every console. To me, it's not about like a brand. It's about a product. And I love Game Pass. When I look at PlayStation Plus, there's PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus Extra, PlayStation Plus Premium.
So confusing.
It's confusing. Like, you get like 2 monthly downloadable games with Essential, exclusive disc. Basically, with PlayStation Plus Essential, you have what we have now.
It's the same thing as what is out there.
Pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
For $10 a month, basically. PlayStation Plus Extra, my understanding, you get basically PlayStation Plus with PlayStation Now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Basically.
Most of PlayStation Now.
Okay. Most of it. They say up to 400, so up to. I don't
Pretty
know.
much I'm just excluding the PlayStation 3 stuff, which they keep for the premium version.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I see it here. PlayStation. Okay, so PlayStation Plus Premium, the higher tier. Oh wait, PlayStation Plus Extra is $15 a month, by the way. And PlayStation Plus Premium plus okay, no. PlayStation Plus Premium is basically everything we just said, plus PlayStation 3 games, which is an additional 340 additional games, they say.
Yep.
And also a beloved catalog of games from the PlayStation 2, PlayStation, PSP, basically. So basically, there's games like the 340 additional games are basically from all the PlayStation consoles ever. It's not all the games ever, I'm sure, but like, they're from all the PlayStation consoles ever. And this is $18, which is, I think, at least here in Canada, I think it cost me like $18.99 or something. It's around $18 in the US too, is it? Game Pass?
It is saying $18 monthly, yes.
No, but for the Game Pass,
Game Pass.
Is it $18 right now? Like the Ultimate and everything?
I do the
I should have the
yearly
numbers
for
in front of
Ultimate.
me.
Yeah, I don't remember the yearly
Yeah,
for
I'm trying
Ultimate
to-
either.
It's around $18, right? So
It's something like that, yeah.
yeah, so like to me, like PlayStation Plus Premium is the real, like at least like in terms of like the pricing, is and probably the catalog as well, is trying to fight Game Pass with it. So first question about this, Pete, which one are you getting, if any?
So my biggest question about this is what games are actually included in PlayStation Plus Premium? So meaning the highest tiered one, because I won't lie, it's pretty tempting to have digital access to stuff like PlayStation Portable, PSP games, PlayStation. Here's the thing about PlayStation 3 though, and this is a big one for streamers. Especially if you have a weaker internet connection. PlayStation 3 is only through cloud streaming, so that means you cannot download PlayStation 3 games ahead of a stream. You'd essentially be streaming it at the same time, as you're streaming the actual game. And I have tried doing this on stream before, and there's a lot of input delay. Because I have okay internet, not the best. So that's an issue. It essentially means that the PlayStation 3 library is, for the most part, most games are just not going to work for me. But they don't specify like what PlayStation 1 games are we getting, what PlayStation 2 games are we getting. PSP, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna admit the biggest draw for me for the premium one is PSP, because that's kind of a pain in the butt to stream. You have to hook up, the video out, and the quality is not the best on my TV. So if they can give me some really good looking PSP games on my TV, that's a big factor for me. And I'm a huge fan. I'm really surprised in Sony, but then again, should I be surprised now seeing what they've done here? It's probably been leading up to this. But I used to be a big fan of their PS2 games on PS4. So essentially they take a PS2 classic, re-release it for like $15, but like up-res it to look in beautiful HD. I love that like little niche of the market that they had on PSN. So if they do more of that kind of stuff, I'd be very interested, because PlayStation 2 games, some of them are getting very expensive, but they don't give specifics.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely. And after the episode of the PlayStation Mini, was it?
yeah.
Right? Little physical mini console.
Yeah.
I think, general consensus was maybe like underwhelming list of games, library of games. So I think it might be in their best interest to be very transparent when it comes to like the games that are going to be included in this, as soon as possible, I would say.
Maybe they're being secretive for a reason. Maybe it's a little underwhelming.
But that's the thing is if they want my advice, well, give me a call. But just in reality, release the information, because that's the worst thing you want. Is people trying to figure out what the list is going to be, and like being like, why are they keeping it a secret? Like, is there a reason? Like, because typically if you keep it a secret, hey, there's two reasons. It's really awesome and you want to make a big splash at some point, which is what you typically hope if you want to buy this, like, subscribe basically.
It's possible it's not finalized yet. I mean, maybe, but it's coming pretty soon.
Right. But it's like, it's like they're announcing it now. I feel like, and I mean, again, PlayStation, Sony, like they do their thing, and but for me, it's like release at least a few titles, like make some splash, like
PlayStation classics.
Yeah, like boom, boom, boom. Here's like 10 games, that 100% will be included. Don't list 340 or 400. You know, like I don't need that. But I need something that tells me like you need a subscription seller.
Exactly.
One or two. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right,
I'm gonna get it for this
people
game.
on board. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know.
I think one of their biggest. I think one of the biggest mistakes with this, though, honestly, is forcing these older games into the highest tier. I think what they should have done was keep the $60 tier. Heck, they could even keep the $80 tier, but they should have made it an option to be like, hey, do sort of what like Nintendo did with the N64 games, where they're like, hey, add on this super expensive expansion pack to play a handful of N64 games. They should have done that with these classic games, where say that you just wanted to keep the base PlayStation Plus Essential, as they call it now, for $60, and then maybe pay $10 or $15 or maybe $20 extra and get access to the PlayStation 1, 2, PSP stuff. But to force people to pay the highest price to get those, I don't think that's gonna go over as well as they think. I don't like
the 3 tiers personally at all. I think they should have went $15 a month.
Mm-hmm.
You get everything. That's it. Like, they're going against Goliath here. Is that how you say it, how you pronounce it? Goliath?
Goliath, yeah.
Goliath. Thank you. There you go. And so you're going against Goliath here. Like, literally, like, Game Pass made such a splash. Like, that's on its own a console seller. It's not like a new IP. It's not like Halo. It's not like Forza. To me right now, the console seller for Xbox is Game Pass. So like your PlayStation, you coming in, and trust me, some amazing games on PlayStation, but you're still going against Game Pass when you're releasing something like this. You need to like nail it. Don't confuse people with tiers and like what games. You want to make people not care what games is included in it and be like, I'm getting it. Forget about it. $15, I get everything. I don't care what game's in there. It's such a good deal. Now with the tiers and all that, you're like, you know, wait. So which one I'm getting here? I'm not convinced if I should get like the second tier, the plus, or the premium, or the I don't know. I'm getting it.
I completely agree with that.
Trust me, I'm getting it. I'm gonna get the premium plus extra, whatever, everything. But I do hope it works really well. There's no like lag. The downloads are like super fast. The experience. I do hope the experience is great. And we can have another episode after the release to see how it went. Do you what games are you most excited to potentially play? You said PlayStation Portable, maybe some games for that console, but like any games that you think like you hope they include in this package.
Well, for PlayStation 2, it would honestly any of the super expensive RPGs. So seeing like maybe, or actually, I'm gonna speak for a lot of people here. I would really hope that like for PlayStation 2, survival horror games, because those are getting ridiculously expensive. Mm-hmm. Games like Kuon, Rule of Rose, Haunting Ground.
Yeah, oh my god. Yes.
Even Silent Hill 2, you know, that game used to be a bargain bin game. You see it for $20. Even that is like $100 to $150 these days. For me personally, though, like just the really niche, obscure games, especially Japanese import games that maybe never saw a US release, maybe they just plop it down in there and give it like a little translation, which they have done before. Randomly, Japanese imports have shown up on PlayStation Network, so it would be kind of cool to see that. Or just, I don't know, it's not like I have any super specific games. It's just more of a general, like, I want to see the expensive games that I just can't afford to get right now kind of just end up on these services. And
you know the problem though with that, I agree with you 100%. You know what the problem is with that? It's going to make you want the super expensive physical version even more.
Yeah, it's true. Especially if these versions have any kind of problems. It's like, oh, this is a really good game, but I don't want to play this version.
Screw this, yeah.
No, it's but I agree with you. Like I do hope that's what we get as well. Some more obscure games, you know, something that, you know, hard to find. Maybe, you know, even as like a collector, like you didn't even know really existed. Like you said, like coming from Japan and whatnot. Like it's that'd be fun. You know, I do hope it's not like a bunch of mainstream games that's like, you know, kind of obvious and maybe like some
most people already physically probably.
Right.
Yeah. Like
the one thing I was going to say about this service though is that they've explicitly stated that there will be no big first party PlayStation games coming out on the service on like day one.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Absolutely.
I can see that.
So, on Game Pass, people are pretty much trained to be like, okay, here's this big game coming out from, Microsoft Studios or what, essentially.
Which is a lot of games now.
A lot of
with
games.
all their acquisitions. Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be there for you day one, but PlayStation, it's not. And, I've read into this because I wanted to try and understand from both sides, like, why this is. And because there's a lot of people that are very opposed to this decision, and then there's people that try and reason with it. And it essentially, the consensus is it just boils down to Sony doesn't have to, because people buy these games anyway. And because they're not a big money, like, they're not as big as Microsoft in terms of how much money they have to just blow around. And, Microsoft can afford to put all these games on Game Pass day one, because Game Pass just kind of sells itself. I think they said something like 28 million, something around there. 28 million people subscribe to Game Pass.
Wow.
Whereas PlayStation, obviously they're probably not going to reach those numbers, and they know that. And people buy their first party games regardless. So it's like, if that's one of their main money makers, they just probably can't afford to put it in Game Pass and take that hit, which I understand. But man, it does feel bad to be like, wow, still going to have to be buying all those PlayStation exclusives. And I love my PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah, and you make me think, like, I haven't bought a Forza game. I haven't bought the last one. I haven't bought Halo, especially now that you can play on PC as well. I played Halo on PC, from the Xbox app, whatever. I'm not buying physical Xbox games. I do, but not first party, and because I know, like, the thing with Xbox and first party games is that they're not forever, but for a while. Like, third-party games on Game Pass might be there for, like, a limited time, or not might. They will be there for a limited time, like a few months, whatnot, maybe 6 months. I'm not sure exactly.
And they delist them with almost no warning. It's like, oh, by the way, next week this game is
coming
gone.
out. Yeah, it's going out. Yeah, absolutely. Right? It's leaving. Actually, there's like a section, like, literally leaving, Game Pass when you're in Game Pass. But, like, like, if you want to play Gears of War 3, it's there, and it's going to stay there. It's not going anywhere. They're not like, oh, F you got to go on eBay, buy your copy of, Gears of War 3, so, like, it's a different strategy altogether. I'm not sure financially what's the best strategy, but I just realized, like, even though I own Xbox games, I typically don't buy first party games anymore, but I do buy first party PlayStation games. And it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Maybe they're trying, like, maybe they didn't want to go head on with Game Pass. Maybe they're like, we just can't. Like
they
you
can't
said,
catch
like,
up. They know. They just
Yeah.
Let's try to make.
They should have done this years ago. I'm not really sure what took them so long. Maybe they underestimated Game Pass. They were like, it won't take off that much, and then it just kind of went crazy, and they're like, all right, we got to start brainstorming. It doesn't make sense to me why it took them this long, because I'm going to be honest, PlayStation Plus in the past couple years, it's been bad with the free games that they give you. At least they used to hook you up with some good stuff, but it's like, oh, here's this random PlayStation 4 game that you can buy for like $5 in a GameStop bin somewhere, like just stuff you don't care about. The only reason I was pretty much staying subscribed to PlayStation Plus is for the ability to play online. And sometimes they actually gave some pretty decent discount. Like, I buy a lot of digital games on sale. I hit up the PlayStation Network sales a lot. And there's a lot of games that give you a little bit extra off having PlayStation Plus. So it kind of pays for itself throughout the year if you buy enough.
Sure.
But I was very disappointed with, like, PlayStation Plus as of late. So,
well, let's not forget, if my memory serves me well, and that's an if, okay? Take that with a grain of salt, but if I remember correctly, PlayStation Plus was king versus Xbox, Live Gold, whatever.
Yeah, whatever they used to call it.
Yeah, whatever the name was, right? They were king. They were giving out games, and Xbox wasn't,
And
or it
people
was
loved
like
it.
really, Then Xbox answered with Game Pass, boom, knockout. And now PlayStation's still kind of trying to get back up, from that knockout, I feel. That being said, right now, I like what they have in the sense that they have PS5 games now every month. They have a couple of PlayStation 4 games. Don't get me wrong, has nothing to do with the value of Game Pass, right? Obviously. But at least the games are I feel higher quality than they were back then. Like to me, it shows that they're preparing for the release of the 3 tiers, because that first tier is exactly what we have today, basically, right? But they still want to have some value in there. If you ask me, I'm going all in. I think that, to me, if the games are like semi decent in there, like $18 premium is the way to go. Which one are you picking?
Well, because I stream full time and people are going to want my opinion on this stuff, I will at least do a couple months of the premium one. But for the money standpoint, it'll probably make sense just to do the year for the highest tier, just to see what they offer, because the amount of I get to see it now. The amount of questions in chat. Oh, did you try premium? Did you try the play? So I'm gonna have to do it just so that I can actually answer these questions for people, and we'll take a look and see what's in there, and have fun with it for at least a year. So I feel like almost obligated to have to get the highest one.
Sure.
So we'll see. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. I'm looking forward to it. I really hope the game selection is excellent, especially on the older game front of things. And I just think that I totally agree with you. I think they should have done one price, one structure, no tiers, just this $120 one. Don't give you options, because it makes you question the value of the highest one, because you look at the highest value one and you're like, oh, maybe I do want to go for the cheaper one. They should have just did a middle ground and no options, direct, come out swinging against Game Pass. But like you also mentioned, and I totally agree, I don't think they're looking to actually fully compete with Game Pass, because it's kind of too late, too late. Game Pass just has too much of a strong market hold on the industry at this point.
I mean, it's going to be fun to do another episode about this later this year, see when both are out and how it feels to actually play it. And then do another one in 3 years and see how, if they're still
when Nintendo comes out with their actual
Yeah,
competitor.
yeah.
No, Nintendo don't need anything like that. That's for sure.
No. I mean, Nintendo's always about 4 or 5 years behind everybody else, but they're just doing their thing, man. It's okay.
That's because they can get away with it.
They can get away. I see a big Kirby behind you. Like, I was playing Kirby recently, really enjoying it. I've been playing Elden Ring for several weeks. Like, I just want to chill and play some good old cuddly Kirby all night long after a long day at work. Like, it works. I like it. They do their own thing. It's okay, and bless them.
Yep.
Do you think they would come out with a Game Pass / PlayStation Plus that is not about retro? That's about modern first party games?
Absolutely not, because Nintendo knows that their fans will be there to spend day of release to spend full price on these games. They would honestly have to lose money over it. I mean, would it do really well for them? Absolutely. People would sign up for that service.
Yeah, of course.
Like crazy, but they even more so than Sony, they know they don't have to go anywhere near that. So they do their little Nintendo Online thing with their classic games for $20. What is it? $20 like a year or something? It's whatever the heck. It's really cheap, and
It's really cheap.
I think that's good enough for them right now.
Yeah. I mean, they're just getting their feet wet, they're just trying it out, see how it goes. Like, they're very, how do you say, like, they're very careful whenever they get into something like the mobile games. Like, they're pulling off some mobile games and some development. Like, they're always very cautious, I would say. And which is, I respect that, and I think they have very high standards as well. They want to make sure, but you're right. I think they don't need to. Like, the fact that they sell their games, basically, like, their first party games rarely go on sale. When they do, it's like 15%, 20% off maybe or something.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean,
you better
even
buy
on
yeah.
even eBay, you can't even
like,
get the games cheaper. People will still pay your top dollar.
Absolutely. I remember I bought Luigi's Mansion 3. Like, I had an urge anyways, to get Luigi's Mansion 3, and I couldn't find it. Was like sold out everywhere for some reason, and it was like full. I went to eBay to buy it secondhand. It was like $10 off secondhand.
Yep.
What, dude? Like, what is it? $50 for like a used. I mean, I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So you're right. Don't have to. They do their own thing. But yeah, Pete, it is really a pleasure to have you here. Talk about some game collecting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about the Game Pass versus PlayStation Plus. Like I said, I hope we get to have you again when these two services release or are out.
Or when Stadia makes its crazy comeback in 2030 and
Yeah.
surprises the world.
Right, exactly.
I will say though, I have tried Stadia. I've tried one game on there before. I tried Guilt, and I just wanted to recommend this to everybody that might watch. It's before Stadia goes away forever, because let's face it, it's ending. There's a cute little survival horror game on there that is exclusive, and it's actually an excellent little game. It's called Guilt, Gylt. I streamed this a couple years ago. The one downside is that I had a connection drop in the middle of my stream, and the game closed because it's Stadia, so you're connected, you're streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But ran great, looked amazing actually. And if you're a survival horror fan, check that game out. It's worth trying before it might disappear forever. So.
Yeah, again, a lot of ideas for future episodes you're bringing into this one episode. I'm making the list here because to me, like, Google Stadia is a good one. Obviously backed by Google, it's in the name, but it's the I'm been wondering why it's not more successful. And that's, again, topic for another episode. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Would love to hear you tell our audience how they can find you on Saturday night and other nights during the week on Twitch and on social media.
Yeah, sure. So I use the same name for everything. It's PeteDorr, all one word, and it's 2 R's, not 2 O's, so DORR. And I stream almost every night, every Saturday. You can catch me streaming eBay stuff, and I also have a YouTube channel, but I only not regularly update that anymore. But you'll always see me on Twitch.
Awesome. Pete, are you on Twitter? Or are you on TikTok?
No, I'm not on TikTok, but I do have a Twitter. I mostly just use my Twitter to let people know when I go live. So no spicy drama on there or anything. Just a tool to tweet out when I go live.
Sounds good. Well,
Save
Pete,
it for the TikTok.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you for being here, and guys, thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode or any of the episodes here at Streamforge Radio, please make sure to leave a positive review. Like it if you're on YouTube. Just positive feedback, just really helpful. We love to hear it, and lots of future topics again for future episodes. We'll see you next time at Streamforge Radio.